What's up, everybody? Welcome to State of the Nation, the Athletics Raiders podcast. I'm Jimmy Durkin, joined here in Alameda by Vic Tafur, and we've got a special guest today, Raiders rookie defensive tackle Maurice Hurst. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great.
You just kind of wrapped up your first training camp. You're back here in Alameda now. What was that experience like for you in Napa? Nice hotel, and then just kind of grinding with the guys. How did you enjoy camp? What was that whole experience like for you?
Camp was awesome. I mean, it was just great to be able to be around the team 24/7 and get to learn my teammates a lot, get to learn the coaches a little bit more than I had during OTA. So, I mean, it was an awesome experience just to be out there and get to play with all of the teammates and just get to be around the game of football and just have that be your sole focus.
Is there one area where you thought you got a lot better during camp? Or something familiar, like, is there one you pick apart your game a little bit and see what you got better at? Or?
Yeah, coach has talked a lot about just being able to handle double teams in the NFL. So, we did our 9-on-7 periods every day, and we had our guys stay on our double teams and just work on that, make it a little bit tougher than it probably will be in the game. And, that was a big thing that, we kind of worked on and we're practicing to keep getting better with.
Take us through your first sack on Saturday. Tell me the whole, what you saw, what happened, tell me the whole play.
So we were just in our base front. We had our nickel on the field, and I was in the 2I, and PJ was in the 3. I got slide away, so I was 1-on-1 with the guard. So I sort of had an inside advantage already. So just took a jab step at him, try to freeze him, and then I was able to club and rip inside and get to the quarterback. So I mean, it was it was a good play.
No dance planned? Do you have no celebration?
I got a little belly rub I like to do every now and then.
What's it like in practice, and how much did it prepare you for that moment to be able to go up against guys like Kelechi Osemele, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson? I mean, this interior offensive line, there's probably not many teams you're going to face, in the season that are going to be as good as those three guys on the interior that you face in practice.
Yeah, those guys are the best guys that I've gone against my whole life playing football. I mean, those guys are, some of the best in the league. So just getting to go against them every day and just work on our craft and just keep going after them as much as I can, try to win as many reps as I can, because I know if I do that against those guys, it'll make the games a lot easier. So just working on those guys.
I know KO can bring a nasty attitude to practice. Is there any big lesson you've taken just from going up against him and a guy like that can really bring it?
KO always works hard, so that's the biggest thing, just not taking plays off. I mean, he's always going to come off the ball, and he's always going to try to, block you as hard as he can every single play, and he's bringing every play. So just bringing my A game every day and just trying to work him as much as I can.
He's lost 25 pounds. Imagine him 25 pounds bigger last year.
It's hard to imagine that.
I know Warren Sapp was at camp and talked to you guys for a little bit. What did you get from that experience? Any tips, or what did you glean from Warren during camp?
It was awesome to get to have Warren here. I mean, he was one of my favorite players growing up, so just being able to get to talk to him and kind of pick his brain a little bit. A lot of the stuff that he talked to us about was just making sure that we had a plan before our rushes, and that was one of the things that Coach Turkovac talked about as well. But, just hearing it from someone else, it was just really helpful to have him there and just teach us some of the things that he did and had success with. I mean, we were watching all types of film with him, our film, and then what he was doing when he was playing. So just getting to put those two together was really helpful for the time that he was here.
I think fans are really excited about this, not just you, this trio of rookie defensive linemen between you, PJ Hall, Arden Key. What's your relationship been like? What's it been like just kind of being with those, other guys? I mean, I know you and PJ have both gotten your first sack, and Arden will probably have his coming pretty soon. Is that fun to be part of that group? And do you kind of feel the fans getting excited about what the three young guys can do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of excitement, especially when you see us three run on the field with the nickel group and just getting after the passer, and that's what they brought us in here for. So just knowing that we have a job to do, and that's the reason that we're here, is because they want us to be able to rush the passer and make big plays. So just coming in here and doing what they expect us to do is sort of, our mindset, and just trying to earn that spot in that nickel group is a very important goal for us.
You ever tell Arden to have more confidence? He's probably not just a little shy.
No, Arden's not shy at all.
I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, he's definitely got a little swagger to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, want to ask you about, obviously we talked about Jon Gruden before, but how does he compare to Harbaugh, like in terms of their intensity and the energy that they both bring?
Yeah, they both bring crazy energy to the game, and you can really tell their passion for football. I think that's the thing that sort of sets them apart from so many other coaches, is that how much they love the game and how much they are willing to give to it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed that's a similarity between them. It's just their love for the game, their passion for the game, their respect for the game.
Did that help your transition to the NFL, playing for a coach who had that NFL experience, had just come from the league? And I mean, it probably kind of got you a little bit used to what you're going to expect coming to play for a guy like Gruden.
Yeah, that was definitely a big help in the transition of coming to the NFL. Is just learning how to be a pro and learning how to do all the little things correctly, and just showing up on time for everything and being held accountable at Michigan and all those type of things just carry over to the NFL. So, I mean, just all the things such as practice and meetings and all of the ways that he conducted our days at Michigan were very similar to what we're doing here.
Anything surprised you at all so far in this NFL experience in the last month or 2 months?
Nothing really. I mean, the biggest thing for me, I guess, is just how quickly the quarterbacks get rid of the ball. It's crazy how fast. I mean, you could basically have a straight line to the quarterback, and you still might not get a sack. So, I mean, it's hard to, get after these guys. But it's definitely a challenge that, we're willing to take.
I know if you've grown up, your mom made a lot of sacrifices to help you kind of be able to push forward, in football and in life. And for you, what does it mean to be able to kind of be at this stage now and in the NFL and starting to make your dreams come true?
Yeah, it's awesome. In our family, football has always been a big priority. So just being able to make it this far and just be able to, say that I'm in the NFL has been awesome. And it's still not really setting in yet. I think it'll take a little bit more time to sort of set in, but it's an awesome experience, an awesome feeling just to be here and just keep working to become a great player. Maybe
that first regular season game, you think it'll set in there? Monday Night Football, Rams, will that kind of start letting it set in, or are you going to take a little longer than that?
I don't know. I think that will probably be a time where it starts to set in and start to realize that, I'm really here in the NFL, and now it's time to keep working and try to chase my dreams and goals.
Speaking of your mom, I think there was a video I saw on the team website where it talked about your tap dancing days as a kid. that didn't last, or was you still tap, or the dream died, or what happened?
Yeah, that dream died a long time ago. I don't know why my mom had me tap dancing, but
good for footwork, right? Good for your footwork.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good for footwork and a lot of other things. I feel like it was a good experience. I mean, me and my cousins all did it together. So
for how long?
Probably about 3-4 years.
Oh wow, so you probably were pretty good then.
Yeah, I was all right.
Well, we know you've complained a few times about the housing prices here. Have you found a place to live? How's that going?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, the housing it's going all right. Right now I'm in the hotel, so that's cool. But yeah, it's an awesome experience, I guess, just being in a new area. I get to look around and find out different types of housing, and it's a fun time. I mean, except for your bank account. But, I mean, everything else is fun about it. Just looking around.
Yeah, if you'd been here about 6-7 years ago, you would have been in great shape. I bought my house then, and it was a little bit different, but it's kind of crazy now.
All right, man, I know you have a meeting to get to, so we appreciate you taking time out.
No problem.
All right, thanks, Mo. All right, back to just Vic and I. Good conversation with Mo Hurst. I think everybody's been pretty excited about that guy since the moment he fell to the Raiders in the 5th round, and a lot of hype, a lot of hope, a lot of potential out of that rookie class, especially on that D-line. Should be fun to see how those guys progress this year.
Yeah, it's kind of like the dot races at the A's games. Like there's the 3 rookies. You got Key, Mo, and you got Hall, and I think they're all like at different points getting a little more hype, a little more buzz about him, and the other guy kind of pulls ahead. Like at first it was Mo, PJ had a good camp, and Arden Key's always flashing at times. So those 3 guys are going to be like the fans are going to be going nuts for each guy, and it'll be a winner at the end of the dot race. Hey man,
I like it. I like the.
It started off good. It tailed off a little bit.
I like the dot race. I don't like the new dot race. I like the old one. Remember the old one on the crappy scoreboard?
Now it's like 3D and stuff.
Yeah, I don't like it. Where they like do flips. I like the old school dot. Growing up, I actually had a my uncle used to always get a bunch of free stuff from the A's, and one year for Christmas he had gotten this for free. I had a dot race watch. with a watch that had the dot race going all the time on the watch. It was pretty cool.
That must have been pretty popular at school. I showed that thing off.
Yeah, I wasn't even really an A's fan either, but it was a cool enough watch that I liked it. I wore it.
That's pretty nice. Now I'm jealous.
I wish you know those little crappy things from when you were a kid that you wish you had kept?
So much.
Because imagine if you would, how cool that would be now.
Yeah, so true.
All right. Well, I guess we'll get away from dot races.
Right. Sorry about that. That's my fault.
So looking ahead to Friday's preseason game against the Green Bay Packers, this is the quote-unquote dress rehearsal for the season. And, I mean, for dress rehearsal, it's kind of a cool matchup. Getting the Packers, getting Aaron Rodgers, should see him out there a little bit. Jordy Nelson going up against his old team. But the Raiders not going to treat it quite like a dress rehearsal. You will see a little bit more of the start. Well, you're going to see a lot more of the starters than you saw last game. But they're not, some teams do, play them into the second half. They want to get them through halftime and see how they come out and play a series. Jon Gruden said on Wednesday that the starters, the offensive starters at least, he kind of separates the offensive starters are a different category than the defensive guys. Those guys will play into the start of the second quarter. So, depending on how things go, maybe 3 series is what you're going to see out of those offensive guys. It's just I think Gruden kind of knows what he has in that group, and he wants to get him a little extra exposure, but not a ton.
Yeah, I think also part of it is he's been gone for 9 years, so there's still a mystery about what they're going to do in offense. I think what they're going to run, the looks they're going to have. I think he likes that. I think they don't want to show too much, so I think you're going to see a lot of new things in the season opener. So I think they won't tip their hand. They haven't seen much of Doug Martin or Marshawn at all yet, and that's by design.
Especially that season opener is against a coach who knows him inside and out. He knows him very well. And so any kind of little signs that he shows in the preseason, John McVay is going to be able to pick up on those.
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, I mean, after the game last week, anything is welcome. Even a quarter and a half of the starters will be welcome because last week was hard to watch. I complained too much, but I felt bad for the starting players who didn't play because it was hot. So you're out there on the sidelines, it was hot, and you're watching just you want to cheer on the guys beneath you, but all these guys are making the team. You don't really too vested in how the third string defensive tackle does, and it's just hot and miserable. So it was bad for everybody there.
And all those fans that were so fired up to see the Raiders back in L.A. and the Coliseum.
They had fun. They got drunk. They had a good time. But it was hot. I felt bad for them, too. It was really hot. I mean, it was just one of those games where I'm sure at one point you're like, why am I here? Why am I getting baked and roasted?
We didn't tell you had to go to that game. We gave you the option.
You did?
Yeah, I think so.
That's my bad.
No. Raiders in L.A., you had to be there. I know one complaint from Raiders fans is that
they complain, Raiders fans?
A little bit. The whole Doug Martin thing. People keep wondering, he hasn't shown us anything. He has to prove that he still has.
Is he making the team, Vic?
He's got to be the odd man out, right? Yeah. I get that Raider fans are skeptical. I mean, he's the guy is 2.9.
2.9. Last 2 years, 2.9 yards per carry. So
I'm not saying the fans are not within not out of line. Wondering if this guy still has it, but the fact that he's not playing isn't because he's it's because Gruden. It's Gruden's team, and Gruden knows what he has there, and he may be proven wrong. We may go into the season and Doug Martin may not have it,
right?
But
Gruden thought he had it when he signed him, and everything he's seen so far in the off-season workouts, at training camp, and they do things we're not watching at camp. They have other walkthroughs when we're not around, so everything they've seen from Doug Martin this far has only verified what they thought, that he's going to be great. He's going to be he's still explosive, according to Gruden. He's going to catch the ball more than he did in the past. You see him in drills with the receivers in the red zone. So I think he'll have a much bigger role than people think he will.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't play well in the regular season, hey, totally open to criticism, but, I mean, that's...
Yeah, and worst case scenario, if he doesn't, Jalen Richard's been good. Jalen Richard, I mean, if you take away the ball control issues over the last few years, he's definitely shown a lot of flashes, so he can be a number 2 guy, no problem. So I think that's not a bad insurance policy to have. Yeah,
and then Chris Warren obviously has flashed here in the preseason. If you assume that he ends up making the roster, we have talked about DeAndre Washington as the possible odd man out. Now dealing with an injury, an injury that might actually be beneficial to the Raiders.
Yeah, he's got a little knee issue, which held him out the last game. He hasn't practiced this week yet. And if you think about it, I mean, if you were thinking about possibly trading DeAndre, or I'm not sure what is out there in the market, you don't really want to cut him. He's definitely an NFL back.
Yeah.
Maybe you IR him. Maybe he's on now your new insurance policy and a guy on the shelf for 8 weeks if you need to wait that long. But an NFL running back who's available and can definitely be useful at some point.
Yeah, so that I mean, there's sometimes where injuries come.
Injuries happen,
can help.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's always hard to start worrying about and projecting and all that stuff, because I mean, until you need to make those cuts, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so much changes every day. So I mean, we'll see what happens. Cut down days, about 10 days away now? I want to say.
Yep.
We're all going to do our projections and kind of everyone's got to predict their 53-man rosters because people love to read that stuff for some reason. But it's hard this year because we talked about Gruden. He has things set in his mind. He has guys already he knows are going to make it regardless of what happens in the preseason. And therefore, the snap count, sometimes you look at the snap count and say, okay, that guy is playing a lot. He's fighting for a job. Or that guy's not playing a lot. He's in trouble. But a lot of times, I think this preseason is the opposite.
Yeah.
Like an example, we're talking about Dwayne Harris. Veteran receiver they brought in because special teams guy. Hadn't played much at all. I haven't seen much of him even at camp. I don't see much of him. But from what I gather, I think he's kind of a lock. I think he's making this team, which definitely affects other receivers who are trying to make it.
Yeah, I mean, you see, he's the only guy listed on the roster when they have the positional roster. It's listed wide receiver / kick return. I mean, I think they probably love his skills there, and they'll see what he can do offensively if they ever need him. But if you look at the other offensive weapons that they have, I think they probably don't really bank on needing him at receiver and just let him be a teams guy and let him be dynamic there. And if Rich Bisaccia likes him, I mean, he's got a good voice, I think, in Gruden's ear.
Yeah, and then Leon Hall, another guy. Leon Hall's the guy we haven't seen much of, but I think he's a lock. So I just think these guys who aren't playing a lot, I think there's a reason. That's probably because Gruden knows what they have. And I think you turn it around to the other side, example, a guy like Denver Kirkland, who's played a lot this preseason. I'm not sure that's a good sign. I think he's maybe taking up snaps that they have to use on somebody. So I think it's hard this year to really kind of to figure out a 53-man roster, but we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I think if you're a veteran in this camp and you're playing a lot, that might not be the greatest thing because, normally,
right.
Normally, you can see how Gruden, a guy like Doug Martin, how Gruden feels about him, and he's not playing him for that. I wonder about our guy, Frosty Rucker. He's a veteran who's playing there a lot. I mean, he was out there in the fourth quarter of the first preseason game, I think, and you kind of wonder, all right, is he, how much, where does he stand? And I mean, the way that as many new players as they brought in, all these veterans they brought in, there's going to be some quality players that are let go, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, it should be an interesting cutdown day for sure.
Well, one thing about Friday, we talked about Jordy Nelson and kind of his reunion with Green Bay. Kind of a funny line from Aaron Rodgers back there, where he was a little disappointed. He's like, "Yeah, I guess Jordy has a new pregame routine. I'm not going to be able to play catch with him. Not going to be able to hang out with him pregame." Aaron Rodgers is so mad still that they let him go.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you lose that security blanket. Like, my kid's got this little, she's 11 now, she's got like a little stuffed animal monkey, which if you don't know what that is when it's bedtime, it's like Panic City. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're 11 years old, it's a freaking monkey. But I think that's the same with Aaron and Rodgers. I mean, and Jordy. You kind of know where he's going to be in certain routes. You know he'll adjust when you are on the scramble. I just think that it's hard to replace those guys, even if they are getting old. And I think that's Derek Carr is very happy to have that instead of him being in Green Bay.
Yeah, Derek was asked about Jordy this week, and is there anything that surprised you about him? And it's like I knew he was fast, but he's faster than I thought.
Yeah, he's a fast white guy, faster than most white guys. But Tom Shaw said that earlier. Tom Shaw said that Jordy's come in and definitely worked hard on that in the offseason. He's definitely wants to prove something. I think he's heard all the rumblings about lost a step. He's not the same guy.
Coming off an injury.
Yeah, he can't be the same guy, but he definitely still get open and kind of like I've always said. I think if you can just replace Crabtree's numbers last year, even like
Crabtree's not fast.
No, exactly. So it's really a very similar swap, and it's a pretty even swap out in my mind. I think that to both be like guys that Carr relies on third down, the red zone guys. Just kind of Derek will say it is look for certain guys. He looks just for the play takes him. That's not true. Derek definitely locks in on some guys sometimes. And I think, and that makes sense if it's a guy you trust and you know where he's going to be, where you want him to be at a certain point. I think Jordy Nelson probably will be that guy this year.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of times in the red zone where I don't know if the play always took Derek Carr to Michael Crabtree when he was but he that was the guy he was looking for, and
he was reliable. He made big time catches. So,
do you think Derek and Crab, when the Raiders go back to Baltimore, are they going to try to play catch pregame?
Yeah, I'm not sure that one's ever going to be repaired. I think that's kind of sad. They were really close a few years back, but I think that one it happens. Time creates differences, and you sometimes don't reconcile them.
Well, one thing I think maybe to watch on Friday is with the starting offense playing into the second quarter. Hopefully we get a chance to get a look at Donald Penn at right tackle. And good reviews so far from Greg Olsen, the offensive coordinator. And I think if you're picking out something out of the starting offense you most want to watch Friday, that might be it, right?
Yeah, I don't know why you would doubt that Donald Penn could play right tackle. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl left tackle. And it wasn't a great year for him last year, but he's still pretty good. I think he's in great shape. He worked hard this offseason. He definitely was mad about the drafting of the two left tackles and pushed himself through rehab. So I think he should be fine at right tackle. To me, the question mark is still in my mind is Kolton Miller. I'm not positive he's going to be the guy at left tackle. In terms of, when I say the guy, a reliable guy that can protect Carr. So I think they're hoping he is, but I still watch their day. He had a few plays in practice where I was kind of wincing a little bit. So I think it's going to be some rough growing pains there for him, and that's not really what you want at left tackle, especially in this division. So I think that, to me, if I look at all the big question marks going into the season, that is the biggest one in my mind.
And do you foresee any scenario where they say, "Okay, this is going bad. Let's cut bait. Let's go Penn back to left, and let's bring in somebody else let somebody else try right tackle." For the first round pick, that's a call that you can't just easily make.
No, they put themselves in a bad spot that way. But I think you don't want to do that, and you think you won't have to. But let's face it, Derek Carr, if he gets hurt, this season's in a lot of trouble. So I think if you see early on that Colton's having a harder time than he thought he was going to have, and Derek's definitely in trouble a lot and in danger, I think you may have to do it. And that's why I think you may have to keep Breno Giacomini on the roster just in case. I'm not sure Breno would make it otherwise, because I think he's been hurt, a knee injury. I think he was probably brought in just to be a stopgap guy at right tackle until Brandon Parker was ready, but he's still coming back from his injury. So I think the only reason you keep Breno on the roster at this point is if you're like, you know what, if this doesn't work, if we hit a snag and we got to pull back a little bit, we can move down to the left side and we can plug in Breno on the right side, and we should be okay for a little while. So I think Parker, his ankle injury was such that he's kind of he lost some time, which I don't think he can make up in time to be a factor this year.
Yeah, what really hurts them is they needed to come into this year kind of being solid at right tackle, so there wasn't that pressure in terms of what are they going to do with Kolton Miller. They could have just naturally let it be, okay, we're either going to go Kolton Miller or Donald Penn over there, and if Kolton Miller starts his career as a backup, we're okay with that. But since I think I don't want to say desperate, but I think they got pretty concerned with what that right side was looking like, and so that's what led them to have to go ahead and put Donald Penn over there. And they can say that they're doing that because of their confidence in Kolton Miller, but a lot of it is they just weren't sure what they had over there on the right side. They were shuffling. Obviously, you talk about Breno getting hurt, Brandon Parker getting hurt. After those guys, those guys are still question marks. And after those guys, who else do they got? They're not all that strong over there. And
they were playing Silverman at the first team, and that's a guy who's been everywhere. He's kind of played a little guard. He was actually playing center under Tyson here last time, trying to make the roster as a backup center. So I just think he was okay, but he's just not a guy you want to go into the year with him as you're starting right tackle. So I agree with you. I think the right tackle mess kind of forced your hand a little bit. I think ideally, probably looking back to after the draft, they're trying to map things out. Okay, we'll push Kolton if he's not ready. We have Penn to start at left tackle, and maybe not for long, maybe for half a season, and we make the switch.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been probably our ideal plan, because they never wanted to use Kolton at right tackle. He had trouble switching in college, which I'm sure is a flashing red light if you're trying to get a guy to do it in the pros. So you wanted him to be totally comfortable. And Kolton's a smart kid. He's obviously very athletic. He can jump, 2 miles up and 2 miles wide, and he can stretch. And it's a matter of his strength, if he's strong enough to hold up. And we'll see.
And I mean, the depth on that offensive line is certainly a concern. I think if you watch a game like last week, it's a concern. I mean, really everywhere. I mean, you've got the 4 guys that are Pro Bowl to Pro Bowl quality. You've got Kolton Miller, top 10 pick. I don't know that I feel great about anybody who's a backup. John Feliciano, if Rodney Hudson goes down, they're in trouble. If John Feliciano has to be your
snaps,
if he has to be your center, you're in trouble. I mean, and he's a guy that has been around the league for a few years now, has played a little, has played decently at times, but I don't feel comfortable with him if I'm the Raiders and have to go an extended run with him at backup center.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the backups are definitely. They talk about David Sharp a lot. He lost some weight, but I'm not sure he's giving them what they need to feel confident that he's a backup tackle. I think. We mentioned Kirkland. He's playing a lot, but I don't think that's a good thing for them. And I think they probably already decided on his fate. So, yeah, they could definitely sign. They signed a guy from Seattle. I'm not sure he'll make the team, but I can definitely see them making some more waiver claims at the end of the year, at the end of the summer, and maybe adding another guy to the line.
Yeah, because we were talking before we started here about guys that are on the bubble, and you look at guys on the offensive line that are on the bubble, like your David Sharps, your Jalen Wares, and I mean. We talk about on the bubble, but it's not. There's some positions here where you're like, man, that's a quality football player that you're having to let go. Here, I mean, it's a bunch of question marks. I mean, you look at their official depth chart and backup center James Stone, backup right guard listed as Ode Abushi, Cameron Hunt's a third team.
It was MVP. What was his award we had after camp? Cameron Hunt. It was the unsung hero.
The unsung hero.
Is that what it was? Yeah. The guy who Gruden would always. Would kill to make an example of a practice, so he's not making the team. No. But, I think Cable, that's the thing about it. Cable likes, until it's Gruden, likes veteran guys, so I think definitely could bring somebody in off waivers and be more confident than what they have in terms of some of those younger guys.
Let's talk some other bubble positions. Defensive line is another logjam, and here there's some more guys that I think you could consider some quality players that could be let go, but you look at a guy like Treyvon Hester, he's another guy that played quite a bit.
He flashed last year. Has made some nice plays last year. He's a young guy, definitely very raw. But it's hard to know where he stands because is he playing a lot because they like him, or is he playing a lot because they have snaps to get rid of? So, and you mentioned a very deep frontline unit. So I don't really know where. I don't think he makes it, but I'm not positive. I mean, I don't know exactly what the coaches. They're not going to tip their hand too much.
And he's a guy that could get on the practice squad easily. I don't think he's getting picked up. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, he started like a bunch of games last year. I feel like he started a handful of games last year towards the end. So I just think that those guys. I mean,
he started. I mean, if he started, or if he played on a defensive line that wasn't very good.
That's true. But I'm saying like usually those big guys up front definitely get more attention than other positions. But you're probably right. They probably stick him on. Who am I kidding?
Yeah. I mean, other guys. Fadal Brown. He's a guy that. I think has had a good, at times had a really good offseason. I don't know.
He may have needed to have a great offseason. I think he had a good camp. He was good in the workouts. Gunther gave him some praise early on. But I'm not sure he took the next step. I don't think he kind of locked down a spot in this team. I think he's a guy you can easily say, well, he was all right, but I'm not sure he's really has to be on this team.
By the way, one start for Treyvon Hester, 14 games, one start.
My bad.
But, and I think a guy like Fadal Brown probably, I don't know that Shalik Calhoun makes this team. He's put himself in the conversation on the radar, but I think he's probably
such a long way to go.
Yeah, I think he's probably moved ahead of Fadal Brown, though.
Yeah, I think he was kind of buried, and I like Shalik a lot. I was a great personality. I read that story about him and Kaiser today, and he's a great dude, and I like how he's kind of went through the tribulations last year, and to be a third-round pick and get cut and come back to the same team and bring the practice squad, that's not easy to swallow. That's definitely developed some character right there. I think he came back. He's always been very positive. His teammates love him a lot, and he's gotten better. I mean, people want to say, oh, it's the coaching. The coaching makes it. But he's doing things that, I mean, he's definitely using a lot of power. He's making some guys, pushing some guys off the line of scrimmage more than he did in the past. So I think I have to give him a lot of credit also in terms of realizing that this is what it's going to take to get to the next level. And I think he's made that push, and I think he's definitely on the bubble. He wasn't on the bubble 2 weeks ago.
I mean, he's happy to be on the bubble.
Well, yeah, I think he is. I think I'm sure, like they always say at this point in training camp, like if you can't make this team,
make another team.
Yeah, make sure you put enough things on tape. You'll get a job offer somewhere else. I think he has. I think with his pedigree, I mean, a lot of teams like him out of college. He's a big dude. He's quick, and this should have been the guy. He should have been this guy all along. Yeah. So I think teams are going to say, you know what, he's turned the corner. Where for whatever reason he wasn't this player 2 years ago, I think he is now, and he can help us even in some sub packages.
All right, how about linebacker? The bubble there at linebacker. Guys like his buddy James Cowser, Jason Cabinda, Azim Victor. A draft pick from this year. Where any of those guys got a shot?
I don't think Cowser does. I hate to say it because I think he's made some plays, and I think again he probably started way back in the race and he's made up some ground, but I don't know if he fits in that well in terms of the scheme. I know he made a nice pick the other day. He was in the right spot on Saturday, but he's not a great. Doesn't have great speed. Mm-hmm. He's not great at reacting the plays. He's definitely gotten better. He's definitely
good special team guy.
Yeah, he's a special teams guy. But I just think that he took that what they need. And the veterans are already set up, and then you got guys like Morrow. I think will be the backup at all three spots. Cabinda's more the rookie. I think he has probably a better shot than Cowser does, just because he's more of your traditional nickel guy. He's a little smaller, a little quicker. I think he hasn't played that great in the preseason. I know he had a lot of tackles last week, but those are just like downfield tackles. But I think in terms of maybe you're looking at upside of a guy who can probably at some point maybe plug in and help you as a nickel linebacker, he fits the bill more than Cowser does.
Probably a guy that you would be pretty happy if you can get him on your practice
squad.
squad.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
All right, let's talk cornerbacks. How many are they keeping? 5, 6? What do you think, 6?
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot. I think it'll be 5 or 6. I think we talked about Leon Hall.
The locks are Melvin, Conley, Leon Hall, you mentioned it as a lock. Daryl Worley is a lock. Nick Nelson, your 4th-round pick, he's making the team.
So that's 5, right?
That's 5.
So
and then you're basically talking about a group: Dexter McDonald, Antonio Hamilton, Sharice Wright, and my personal favorite. I like Rashawn Pringle.
Nice.
Prior to Tennyson High.
There you go.
Went to my high school, so I don't know if Tennyson produced an NFL player.
I know Ted Wynn has been pumping up Hamilton. I haven't seen it. Sorry, Ted. We disagree. But who else are we talking about?
Sharice Wright's a veteran, and that helps.
Again, I think when Gruden brings a guy like Sharice Wright in, I don't think he tells him, hey, man, I need you to have a really good camp. I think he's like, I'm bringing you in for like a veteran presence and bringing in, I know what you can do. So I have a feeling Sharice Wright might be in better shape than we think he is as far as making his roster.
And then when you look at Sharice Wright going up against an Antonio Hamilton or a Dexter McDonald, it's not like those guys are 22-year-old rookies. I mean, those guys are what, third? Yeah. They're both in their 3rd year, I think.
Yeah, both.
They've been around. They're not like they're guys that are just brand new to the league and high upside. I mean, they've been around a couple years. You kind of want to see a little more growth from them by now, and if they're not quite there, you probably lean on the veteran.
Yeah, they're halfway on the Keith McGill scholarship round.
Man,
so
Keith
McGill got 4 years out of this team somehow. So sorry, Keith, I'm not bagging on you, but Keith McGill didn't do a whole lot to earn 4 years of service here. So I just think like some of these guys have been here for a while, but it doesn't really mean much.
When Keith McGill started the opener in 16 at safety instead of Carl Joseph.
Yeah.
That was weird. All right, we're going to wrap up here soon, but
I just took a shot at Keith McGill out of nowhere. Sorry,
that's mean.
I feel bad.
gotta give
Keith
him a
McGill's always nice to me. Sorry, Keith, if you're listening. I feel terrible.
All right, before we wrap up, we will get to the token Khalil Mack segment. You wrote this week, you kind of checked in with both sides.
Riveting story about a lack of progress.
And I think that's what's worth reminding people that we're in a position where we don't feel like we have to progress the story if there's nothing to progress, and that's why and you wrote that there really is nothing going on, but you kind of laid out the reasons why it's taking so long. I know there's shots being fired on both sides. Of there was the Raiders were confident that he would be in here by week 1.
That was the Peter King thing. Peter King was in town. He wrote that I think the other day, and so that was perceived as management saying that.
Yeah.
And then Lockenfora, who I shouldn't say this, but he's wrong a lot. So Lockenfora writes that there's no way Mack will come back without a deal. It's whatever. So people thought, that came from the agent, but again, I just think often in this business, national guys, especially with the Raiders, they can take shots, they can say things, and not have a lot of basis. And the Raiders aren't going to say, hey, that's not right. The Raiders, their policy over the years hasn't changed. It's like, we're not going to comment on those things. We're not going to correct you if you're wrong. I mean, any attention is probably good attention. And if you want to talk about us, that's fine. We're not going to like, hey, that's not true. So I just think, I get the national guys, they want to get the clicks. They want to weigh in on things because you can't. I mean, if you're an NFL Network, I'm going to use an example.
You have to talk about it.
Yeah, they got time to fill. You can't just say, Khalil Mack, there's no news. Okay, next story. You got to. I need 5 minutes of Khalil Mack. We got to fill 5 minutes. So you got to talk about. Oh, he's unhappy. Oh, he might get traded to the Packers. The Packers are going to trade for him, and which to me, that of all the nonsense this preseason, I mean, the whole trade rumors. I mean, everyone's been milking it like he's going to the radio stations talking about going to the Niners, and just like there's no reason for the Raiders to trade him.
Yeah,
and they have no interest in trading him. Yeah. He's their best player. He's under contract for $14 million this year. They can tag him the next 2 years. If that's obviously they don't want to do. That's not the ideal scenario. We're going to get this guy upset and tag him. But that's definitely your option. I mean, teams do all the time because you have a guy who's that good under your control. So I don't understand why people think they're going to trade him at this point. I'm going to get on a rant. But anyway, so back to what we're saying. There's no real progress. There's no real news to report. Raider fans always ask, should we panic yet? I mean, you're going to panic if I say so or not. But I'd wait another week. I don't see how Khalil gains anything by not coming for the first game. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose a game check. Is it going to help your leverage? I mean, if say the Raiders lose that game, they get blown out. They say, now we're going to pay Khalil Mack. No, I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know what you gain by doing that. If you look at Joel Siegel's clients, I mean, Joel Siegel, his agent, big time agent, 30 years in the business, definitely a hardline guy. He had guys hold out a lot in the past. But if you look at it, those guys didn't miss games. They held out during their offseason. They missed all the preseason games, missed all the camp because who wants to go to camp? If you're a star player, not missing anything at training camp. So those guys all came back and played and got their money because the whole point of this thing is to get more money. So why would you turn down money and not play in the game? It doesn't make any sense.
And I think a lot of people keep wanting to point to last year and Donald Penn and act like Reggie McKenzie set a policy last year where you have to show up and then we'll talk.
Right.
And so people keep stating that as if it's a Raiders policy. Right. Has Reggie McKenzie said that once? No.
Not once. I know he didn't talk about it much. He won't address the topic too much with reporters as far as Matt goes, but was the Donald Penn thing last year? You mentioned that at least a handful of times whenever he could. Like, you know what? He has to come here first, then we'll negotiate. That's Donald Penn. That's a 34-year-old tackle who you may have paid too much money in the first place, and you're kind of stuck because you got Marshall Newhouse's only leverage, so you got to pay him. But this is Khalil Mack, a 27-year-old former Defensive Player of the Year who Reggie McKenzie loves the guy. I know if it was up to him and he had all the money in his bank account, I'm sure he'd pay him and he'd be here. But it's not. It's a complicated process. Mark Davis is involved. Jon Gruden's involved. You're looking at Aaron Donald's situation, what he's going to make. There's a lot of factors in this. You can't just give Khalil a blank check. I'm sure if Reggie could and he would, it'd be a done deal. But I just think that it's not the same as Donald Penn. Khalil Mack is not Donald Penn. Yeah,
and Reggie has said a couple times, I just want him here. But it's not this. It's not those same. If he comes here, then we can talk. It's a completely different situation. Right. I mean, and it should be. It should be a different situation, and it is. Because
he's got $14 million waiting for him. That's not. People can scoff at that, but that'd be hard for me not to show up for a $14 million check. I mean, I could be mad and I could feel disrespected, but if you got a check waiting for me for $14 million, I'm probably going to be there.
Yep. All right. Well, that'll wrap up this week's episode of State of the Nation. We will be back at the Coliseum on Friday night for the Raiders and the Packers. A little post-game show from the Coliseum press box. And
last time we promised some hot Luani takes. What are we promising this game? We're promising some hot. Give me somebody.
Let's take a look at the roster. Fadal Brown takes.
Hot Fadal Brown takes after the game Friday night. All right, that's going to get him to tune in.
That was literally just the first name.
We talked about Fadal. He's on the bubble. Yep. I like it. Fadal's a good dude. I think he another guy who I think a lot of teams have on their radar as far as a guy if the Raiders cut, they may want to bring in.
All right. Hey, reminder, go check out all of our work at theathletic.com. Listen to the podcast there. You can listen on Apple Podcasts. Give us a review, 5-star rating, all that. And all the other apps you can get the podcast at. All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right, guys. Thanks.